white swan family too, I've heard. Atsian, the Schelangen, Kusamak, son of Matt, Livingston. My traditional name is Kusamak. It was given to me by my great-great-grandmother, Sadie Celestine Jones. And this is my partner.
Asian, Schelangen, Sahana Asmi is my traditional name. I want to thank everybody for being here, and also the ones that did all the legwork for inviting us to be here tonight. Thank you.
And I just want to honor my White Swan family. This is White Swan Environmental. I feel like I have, I'm very honored to be a part of the Blue family and the clan that calls themselves White Swan. We come from the House of Steepland, that comes from the fourth brother, Lord James Solomon Bulch, and I would just ask my family to come up here and sing the White Swan family song. Environmental, we One Mind for the purpose of the work is indigenous-led 501c3. We've been in operation since 2015. Our mission is to support community healing through the natural, cultural, and historical restoration
to the Salish Sea for 7th generation sustainability as a measure of ecological health protection. We've been working with our, originally Coast Salish Mini University. We've transitioned into the Coast Salish Youth Stewardship Corps. We are also partnering with the Whatcom Intergenerational High School, which will be a new charter school in Whatcom County. And we do have indigenous truth consultation and liaison services that we do. And we are also the vision keepers for a Coast Salish Tribal Heritage Field Institute. I know that sounds really large, but if Walt Disney can dream of Disneyland, then we can dream of 7 longhouses in the San Juan Islands and 7 longhouses in the Gulf Islands to have an indigenous-led 13-moon K through PhD program. Here, whiteswanenvironmental.org, you'll see some of the work that we are doing and the work that we have done. I also work with Julian Shovia from Generation Forward, where we're envisioning a future where all Whatcom County children thrive. So we're on the Equity, Diversity, and Honoring Cultures Committee. And we've been very busy as a committee. This is sponsored by the Health Department and the Opportunity Council. And I was asked here, we were asked here tonight by Ann and Mr. Bill, and we thank you very much for thinking so much of our work. And when I think about human rights and what we're doing, I think about the words of our respected elders. And that is, the Creator gave us a sacred responsibility to the land, to the water, to the reef net, to the salmon, and to the language that belongs to it. And if it's not supported, it's cultural, spiritual genocide. Each one of those elements are in a very vulnerable state right now. Our people in the last 160 years have been dislocated and disassociated from their land, territory, and way of life. Our inherent right to clean food and water for all people is always constantly threatened by the pipelines, constantly threatened Atlantic salmon spills, first responders standing beside me. Our reef net technology, is an ancient fishing technology known to the Strait Salish saltwater people. Today that's known as the most respectful, sustainable way to produce the most high-quality salmon. It took non-native 10 years to learn how to operate that reef net. In the last 100 years, we've been forced out or outlawed from that technology. The salmon people our wild salmon people, our brothers and sisters, they are at 5% or below of hanging on. As salmon people, our language is at 5% or below of hanging on. So that kind of gives you an indication that we're kind of like this close to cultural, spiritual genocide. So that's why we dream big for that long-term Coast Salish, because President Obama called out the rich history of the Coast Salish people through his Proclamation 8947. Tribal heritage, because there's a 15 to 20-year resource management plan. That I'm on the National Monument Advisory Committee as a tribal interest rep. And this is probably what I really want to talk about because I know I don't have very much time. If you go to this website, we've been doing a lot of truth and reconciliation work, bringing it to the legislative table, having screenings and panels and forum discussions, and you can listen to the audio of our last forum online. But there is also on the homepage, if you go to a title, Take Reconciliation Today, and you can click on that, and that will show you the National Monument deadline is coming up January 3rd, 2019. There's 1,000 acres in our unceded ancestral territory at the San Juan Islands. I'm asking Native and non-Native to really consider the potentialities of what that can mean for Coast Salish people. Because if there's budget appropriations, that could either go for trails or lighthouses, or it can actually go for the Coast Salish people so we can have a living culture again. That we are not anthropological curiosities. That we can actually have our children out there, our people out there in the field doing the restoration work, because our ancestors cultivated those islands. I mean, the Constitution, I guess, says that they wanted us to be farmers, but we did a different type of farming in the ancestral homelands. We had islands for canis beds, clam gardens, oysters, black ducks, woolly dogs, you know. I'm going to be epigenetics and I'm going to bring back those woolly dogs. Oh, just kidding. But I want to be able, I imagine those longhouses out into those ancestral homelands. On the website, you're going to see pictures. We've already had ceremony in 2 of those places that had longhouses there. One of them, there was a 600, 800-foot longhouse there. And the British came in, they tore down the longhouse, they burned our burial grounds. His grandfather tried to go home, back to home there, and they kicked him out. His family was broken by the border, and I know there's a lot of things that he wants to say, but I want to say, just please go to that website and there's a link in there with an email, and what I can see happening with the National Monument opportunities, please spread the word to people, is that with those 1,000 acres, we can restore village sites, camps, reef net locations, 13 moon food sovereignty. Our people are in fear of exploitation, cultural appropriation, traditional-based knowledge, and all of the intellectual properties. They're afraid of being violated because there has been so much historical trauma to our people. It took us 5 years, and it was just recently that we got the National Monument and the National Park Service together with our key leaders in our nation. And those are the issues that come up. So you're going to see what our values are on there, and one of those is to uphold those values, to make sure that we're having equity when we are meeting with the government leaders, and that we're creating fair cooperating agreements and memorandums of agreement with our federal land managers that you'll see that we're dealing with online. But I'm hoping that there could be signage so that our treaty rights can be acknowledged, that we have tribal use rights per Constitution, our treaty rights, supreme laws of the land, so that our people can go ashore and have a safe place to come ashore. When we did our work out in our ancestral islands, what happens to our people is they're always chased off the waterfront. And when we brought our communities out there, our elders were very touched by the work that we did, because they said, you know how many decades we have been driving by these islands on our fishing vessels, and we've never been able to come ashore and even cook a fish. So now you see us in ceremony being able to do that. We had a cultural or a historical cultural land easement with the San Juan Island Land Bank. We have all of these things that could work. What I feel like I help do is be able to create spaces and places and find resources. But I'm not the traditional culture bearer. I want that for my children. It's my daughter who gives me hope. It's my family that gives me hope. It's Tanya that gives me hope, and it's my partner that gives me hope. So I just create the spaces and places because these remaining traditions, past and future epigenetics, culture bearers, they're the ones that are going to be out in the field being able to teach our youth. And then the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics curriculum can wrap around them so that our natural laws and our indigenous ways of knowing that helped us survive since time immemorial could be taught to our next generations. I like to say, as the Schelangen, inherent birthrights supersedes treaties and First Nation territory. Louise Mandel, QC, First Nation Aboriginal treaty rights lawyer. And as treaties and public trust doctrines are two essential tools to help protect our environment, Mary C. Woods, environmental law scholar. We have two non-native lawyers on both sides of the border who are looking to us, the enigma of our treaty rights and our Aboriginal rights, to be a measure of environmental protection. When Wet'suwet'en, you all know about Wet'suwet'en, and how the SSA developers were going to go and put the largest coal terminal in our ancestral homelands. Well, the enigma of our treaty rights help protect us from having our environmental impacts even further degraded. So if Mary C. Woods, when I talked to her 500 words per minute because she was doing a presentation on treaties and public trust, she says, why don't you just have people help you put your longhouses back in your ancestral homeland? People will help you. And so that's what I'm asking you to do tonight too, besides a whole bunch of other things. I hope they'll go to the website and learn about us. And I know Troy took a lot of notes and he's always got really good things to say.
I just would like to say, a little over 200 years ago, the Aboriginal inhabitants of this land, they walked freely amongst this territory. Not very long ago. Well, 160 years later, our ancestral homeland is all privatized. There isn't access for the indigenous people. The Nooksack River, it had 11 longhouses on it. People of Whatcom County doesn't really know the history here in Whatcom County about the Aboriginal people of this land. Originally, at one time, the San Juan Islands were part of Whatcom County, and they separated it to deal with the Indians. They'll just take their ancestral homeland and we'll put it over here, and we'll put the Indians over here on the Lummi Reservation. So our story has been silent for about 160 years. And I think when we stand up for the idea that people of this land have never given up their rights to Whatcom County. We're still here. And I think we're all in this boat together. We all, as human beings, have the rights to be one people, including all of us here in Whatcom County. We all have the same issues. Drugs and alcohol doesn't discriminate. Over there, over there, over there. We're all a part of a big society. And I think when we get to the place where we recognize the indigenous people are still here, those rights need to be acknowledged, then we might be able to get to the place where we can reconcile with one another and move forward in better ways so that we can, as a human population, come together in a good way and make good things happen. So, Aisha.
We're going to wrap this up because we're heading out. Thanks for joining us tonight.